Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Boss Talk. And this episode we have a great guest for you guys. Tal Green, owner and CEO, how do you want to say?
Sometimes owner, operator, chief happiness officer sometimes, chief ice cream officer sometimes, so chief problem whatever. I don't really care about the title.
Tal Green of Crank and Boom, Chief Happiness Officer, has joined us, and I'm super excited to have you on the show, Tal. One of the things I feel is amazing is your marketing and your advertising, but what also just blows me away is listening and hearing about your story. And something we're going to go right into, guys, basically is the story of Crank and Boom, where you and your husband, Mike, you owned a Thai restaurant.
Yes, we did.
And middle of the night, I'm assuming you guys said, "Hey, I don't want to do Thai food anymore. Let's do ice cream." Yeah. And what's amazing is for our listeners, you guys went completely 360 into a completely different, I'm not going to say field, but a completely different food product that is so amazing. It's so good that it's just great. So one question is why did you leave the Thai restaurant and why ice cream?
Sure. So my parents and I opened a little Thai restaurant called Thai Orchid Cafe in 2006. And we ran it just like every other mom and pop. We were in there 20 hours a day, working all the time. We didn't really have a big staff. We had maybe 2 or 3 people that helped us, but we basically did all the work ourselves. So we just ran ourselves into the ground. Okay. So about 5 years after opening, my parents were ready to retire and kind of get out of the restaurant industry just so they could get some rest, because they actually opened a restaurant in Frankfurt called Smile of Siam, which is now called Thai Smile.
Okay, I know where that's at. Yeah,
so that's owned by a different family now, but our family was the original family that owned the Smile of Siam. So they're used to the restaurant industry, but at this point they're probably a little tired just from working so hard. And so my husband and I were like, well, what do we do now? Do we try to sell the restaurant? What do we do? And we decided that we would buy the restaurant from them and kind of put our little touches on it and see what we could do with it and see what sort of growth we could have with the restaurant. And so while we kind of did that transition, I thought, well, I need something. Let's do a fun dessert option because there's not like a prevalent like Thai dessert.
Right.
Italians have tiramisu and there wasn't like a classic dessert, but there really is an amazing coconut ice cream that they have over in Thailand because there's lots of coconuts over there. And they have these coconut ice cream carts everywhere, kind of like the hot dog stands in New York. And I thought, well, that would be awesome if we could offer a coconut ice cream because we have Thai food and sometimes it's spicy, and that would be the perfect rounding of a meal if we could do coconut ice cream. And I didn't know how to make ice cream. I loved eating ice cream.
So in 2006, you didn't even know how to make ice cream.
No, and we bought the restaurant in 2011.
Okay,
so that's so that's when we kind of started toying around with ice cream. So I bought a $60 Cuisinart off of Amazon and found a recipe by Google and looked up Thai coconut ice cream recipes. And watched a YouTube video to learn how to use the ice cream maker. So we joked that the internet, Crank and Boom would have not existed had we not had the internet.
Amazing.
So thank you, internet, for all this information. And made 2 quarts at a time. So that's, for your reference, is like half of a jug of milk. Yeah. And that was about 4 servings-ish, 4 to 5 servings we would get out of that one batch. That would take 45 minutes to make one batch. So one batch took 45 minutes to make. And we did one batch a day because it was the kind of maker that's like the freezer bowl that you have to freeze overnight. So it wouldn't freeze in time to make another batch later in the day. So we had one bowl, one batch per day,
So
4 quarts. That's
Crank
all we
and
would make.
Boom started from a YouTube channel.
It did.
Or from
Just,
YouTube. That
YouTube
is
information.
So great.
I didn't know.
So great.
I honestly did not know how to use the maker. I was like, well, what, and I kind of read the instructions, but I basically went to YouTube to see how someone made it and what the process was. And the coconut ice cream turned out awesome. I loved it. It tasted just like what I had in Thailand. And we started serving that. People really enjoyed it. I started to apply kind of the same principles that we had applied to the Thai restaurant, which is using local ingredients, using the best ingredients we can find into your food, because that's what makes it delicious. So when I was at the farmer's market, I thought, well, maybe there's some other fun things we could do with ice cream. And this is right when the craft ice cream kind of revolution was happening.
Right.
So you have your regular, homemade ice creams that you've had forever. But then companies like Jenny's came out, High Roads out of Atlanta, these companies that started saying, well, it doesn't have to just be vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. Here's a
more wholesome, more
just
detailed, or more into
yeah,
certain...
and just more creative.
Creative,
so
yes.
There's a place out on the West Coast called Salt and Straw, and they had a bone marrow ice cream.
Oh, wow.
So there was just a lot of quirky things happening with ice cream, and I thought, well, there's why don't we use some ingredients that we have? And at the time, we had partnered with Elmwood Stock Farm that's here in Scott County, and they had a huge oversupply of sweet potatoes. So I said, well, why don't I make an ice cream out of some sweet potatoes? Because they said, here's a gigantic pile of sweet potatoes that we can't sell. Please take as many as you want.
So your mindset was basically, I'm going to think outside the box a little bit here and try to create something a little different to grab interest.
And it was just, it really, for me, was just a creative outlet. And I thought, well, ice cream's kind of a nice canvas to do some other things. So we made a sweet potato pie ice cream. So if you need some Crank and Boom trivia, that was the second flavor that we made. So there's coconut ice cream is one, sweet potato pie ice cream was number 2. So we cooked the sweet potatoes, put it into the ice cream, and then added pie crust and candied pecans. That was our sweet potato pie ice cream. So we started putting out more flavors. I did invest in a second freezer bowl, which I think cost $20. So we could make
you're
two
like $60
batches.
in.
Yeah, so it's not a
make
huge
2
commitment.
batches.
So I could make 2 batches a day. It still took 45 minutes to make a batch, and I slowly stockpiled, what we had, so we would build up 3, 4, 5 flavors at a time.
Now, did the ice cream start to take, and were people coming there to the restaurant now more for the ice cream, or were they coming? When did that revolution, or when did that start to change?
It was about 6 months into just having it as a dessert option, and we've got this great picture of our specials board that had our Thai specials, and then at the bottom it just said homemade ice cream. And there was a listing of, I think, 4 different flavors that we had available. So people started coming in probably 6 months in, and they would say, I'm looking for the ice cream in this Thai restaurant, and they didn't order any Thai food. And that kept happening over and over.
So the word got out on the ice cream.
Word got out on the ice cream. And at the time, we just had Facebook as our social media. And I started noticing that people were liking the ice cream posts more than the Thai food posts. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And then my husband Mike said one of his turning points was he was checking someone out at the register, and someone came in. It was blizzarding outside. A lady came in her giant parka and asked for ice cream.
So there's, you've made it.
Like,
you've made good ice cream.
Sure you don't want any other food?
Like hot soup or something?
I'm just here for the ice cream. We're like, well, okay.
So when did you guys decide, all right, this Thai isn't working out, and looks like this ice cream is really taking off? Who made the decision, or what was this? What was that conversation? How'd that go?
I would say it was another 2-3 years of
Oh,
evolution.
okay.
So it wasn't a decision that was like waking up in the middle of the night and thinking,
Yeah.
okay, this is what we have to do.
Gotcha.
What we had found out was we were doing the Thai restaurant was it was a really hard model to scale.
Gotcha.
And we use
That's important.
Yeah, we like to use like a rock star concert analogy. So if you have a rock concert, you have to have the rock star there to have the rock concert. But if you want to sell CDs, the rock star does not have to be there to sell CDs. So
I love it.
How can we switch to a model of something where, you know, I didn't have to be in the kitchen for 20 hours a day to make it work.
Right.
And we kept running into that over and over. It was hard as we were doing more ice cream events. We didn't even open a store until 3 years later.
Okay.
In the distillery district. But in the meantime, we were going out and doing these festivals. We started the wholesale division selling to places like Whole Foods and Good Foods.
Thursday Night Live was your very first.
It was.
It was your very first debut, I guess.
Yes.
And how did that go? Was it I think I know the answer, but tell us how that went.
You know what? That day we had worked on getting the ice cream its own brand, its own name. So it had been 6 to 8 months in the works before we even got to Thursday Night Live. We had bought a little cart. There was a delay, so we didn't even know if we would have a cart in time to serve for this event that was going to be in May.
So Thursday Night Live, guys, real quick. I'm sorry.
No,
That
go
is
ahead.
it starts when the temperature starts to warm up in Lexington. It's downtown, and it's a very fun event where they have live music and families can come out there, and they have food trucks, and you know some of the restaurants and the local bar areas open up, and you can walk around and socialize and hang out. So it's a big to do. It's a winding down, getting ready for the weekend type thing. But so you started there and keep going. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. So you know, just for me getting to that point, because there were a lot of steps even before we got there. So we had worked on the branding. We ordered this cart. We had signed up for a bunch of festivals when we didn't even have an ice cream cart yet. Okay. And I had no idea in terms of volume. I said, you know, can one tub serve 100 people? I have no idea. So I'm just going to make as much ice cream as I can to fit into.
Look at all the risks you're taking, but you don't care.
There's so many risks.
But you don't care because you know it's going to work. Your mindset is like, hey, we can do this.
No, we had no idea that it was going to work. Okay. But that's the
fun,
kicker.
Though. That's the kicker. Yeah.
Someone described entrepreneurship to me as jumping off a cliff and building the plane as you fall. So,
that's going to be a clip.
Sometimes, you know, you build a wing and it doesn't work, or
Yep.
you know, you turn on the engine and it doesn't work. So there was no guarantee that it was anybody would show up.
Yes.
And when we first started and opened up for business per se, we were just trying to get people to sample it. So we were it's like, hey, do you want to try this ice cream? It's like, it's free. And people were just like, no. They would just kind of turn their head down because they didn't know what it was. And I don't know, maybe they thought it was weird, you know, Thai people ice cream or something. I don't know what was going on, but people were not that into it at that point because the only place you could get it was at the Thai Orchid.
Right. So they didn't really know.
They didn't know what it was.
Yeah, right.
And
so
it was a new product. It was
Right.
a new name. We had our tent, we had our name, we had the T-shirts that literally came that day, hot off the press.
And what did they say on the T-shirts?
Here comes the boom, and it had our
Love
logo.
So Crank and Boom came. So let's back up a little bit. Crank and
Sure.
Boom. Who came up with that name? And because Here Come the Boom,
Yeah,
Here Comes
yeah.
the Boom is so awesome.
I love it so much. So we worked with a local Lexington company called Bullhorn for the branding, and they provided some names, and we threw some names out, and we ended up landing on Crank and Boom because my college roommate, her name is Katie Rankin, and when you do an email at school, it's the first letter of your first name plus your last name. So she was K Rankin. And so her email address for school was Crankin, and that was her nickname. So we called her Crankin. And she married a guy named Brennan Bauma, and his nickname before they met was Boom. And so their couple name when they got married and got together was Crankin' Boom. So I had actually bought the domain name with a K years before the ice cream even came about.
That's so great.
Because I was like, we should name something that, because it's super fun.
So that's such a great. You're already an entrepreneur before you even realized you were, because that is so smart to do something like that, to have the pieces already in mind. 'Cause I kind of did the same thing, had the pieces in mind in regards to that. When I did Brickhouse Properties, I already had the idea. I just could not put the right name and logo together. So we were constantly back and forth, my wife and I, and trying to come up with the names and stuff. So the fact that you already had that set up, you just needed to have that
right. It almost
product.
The product fell,
and it's perfect.
It was a perfect fit because we thought, crank is the old way of old-fashioned way of making ice cream.
Exactly.
And that's what we were doing.
You're cranking it, yeah.
And then boom was the flavor. So if you have
love it.
If you have bourbon and honey ice cream, we want the flavor to be strong enough that you taste the bourbon and you taste the honey, and it's not, muted in any way. When I taste a lot of kind of manufactured ice cream, a lot of it tastes very dull to me, and I knew I wanted, and Thai cooking it can translate to how we make ice cream. So my training and all the years that I was a Thai chef, I took those same elements of like blending flavors, balancing
making them
flavors, and making them pop.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the
That's
big
awesome.
differences.
So basically you're at you're doing the festivals and stuff. When did you guys you decided, okay, we're big enough now, I think we're starting to know we're going to open up our own store, open up our own place,
Right.
and that's when it really started to come together.
Right. So we were out at all these festivals, and we would have lines and lines. And I was like, these people are crazy. Like, why? I wouldn't wait an hour for some
Waiting
ice
an
cream,
hour
but
for ice cream.
But I think the
That's
longest line,
great,
I actually
guys.
counted one of the longest lines was 100 people in line. I was like, y'all crazy.
So when you see that, how does that make you feel?
Oh,
Isn't that amazing?
It just blows my mind. I was like, I know it's good ice cream, but when other people who are not your friends purchase something you create, it's very humbling and
from an entrepreneur perspective, look, ice cream, you can go to any grocery store and it's one row of nothing but ice cream, and then you can go to the other row and it's all these novelty types of ice cream. You guys are doing something that basically at the end of the day has been done for thousands of years, and you have 100 people in line waiting to get yours. That is so amazing that you guys did that. But you found a niche in regards to flavors that work in Central Kentucky, that people are very interested in trying, and they work so well. And like I said before, I go in there and I can only do the cookies and cream because that's my go-to, and it's so amazing. There's so many other flavors, guys, if you want to go check them out. But for me, I can't get away from that because I feel like I'm cheating myself if I don't get it. But so you have the location, you have 100 people in line. You decide you're going to get, now we're big enough, we feel like we need to have our own spot.
Right. We, as we were out at all these festivals, people kept asking, okay, where's your shop? How do I get this? And I said, well, we're in this Thai restaurant. And it seemed to confuse people that they were going into a restaurant to buy our random ice cream that's called something else. And eventually we kept, telling them, well, you can go to Good Foods and you can go to this Thai restaurant. And they would say, can you please open a shop? So every step we took basically was from customer demand.
So you listen to the customers, right? You're listening to what your clients are saying.
And it got loud enough, and there were enough people asking for it that I thought, well, if the demand is high enough, maybe we can make that work.
That's
and
awesome.
So that same year, our lease for the Thai restaurant was about to come up, and we had to make a decision. Do we renew the lease? Do we keep it going?
Scary times,
right? Do this ice cream thing we're only doing in the summertime, so what are we going to do the rest of the time?
Good point.
Right.
Good question.
So
yeah.
that year we did open the location on Manchester Street in the Distillery District, and that was our first indication. So that was the summer of 2015.
So that was
the year. In December our lease was going to end. So we had a few months.
A little stress going on there.
There was a lot of stress going on. There was a lot of stress going on that year, and trying to figure out how we juggle all these balls.
But isn't that fun? That's such a great problem to have.
I don't know if that part was fun.
Well, I understand. You're right. It's never fun, but
No.
what a great problem to have. And
It is a great problem to have.
You're doing something you love to do, and you found something that you're not sure. You're just the nervousness, the scariness of it, but you know in the back of your mind, I'm sure you do. You know it's going to work because you saw the stuff there with the people and all the people that all the clues were there. It's
Right.
just a matter of executing it
Right.
correctly.
Right. So when we were trying to make this decision, if we're going to keep the restaurant, if we're going to do something else with it, at the time, our family income, as well as like all the revenue for the business, was 80% Thai restaurant and 20% ice cream. And at that point was when we decided that, doing the mom and pop restaurant, Thai restaurant, is not very scalable. And it was just going to be hard for us to grow it in the way that it was built. But if we did ice cream, what if we were in every grocery store in the country? That's maybe kind of possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
What if we could? And it was a product that was very familiar to a lot of people. It was a product that is easier to train than trying to it takes us 6 months to train someone on that cook line in a Thai restaurant.
Wow.
Whereas I could, within a day or two, I could train someone to work in our ice cream shop. So that was a lot different. So the model for growth, we're going to flip it. We're going to say goodbye to 80% of our income, that part was scary. And saying, okay, well, this is our comfortable, and this could, relate to anyone else who's like in their job that's comfortable, that is like, well, that's my health insurance, and that's my this, and that's my retirement, and all those things that they're comfortable with. But my husband, who is, I say, is the smarter of us two, he said, well, sometimes you got to let go of one dream to chase a bigger dream.
Love it.
So,
well, let's take a break. Let's talk about that dream. I want to get into the location at Manchester, and basically I want to touch base on flavors. Let's get into that. So, all right, guys, let's take a quick break for our sponsors, and we'll be back here in a few. All right, we're back, guys, and wanted to touch base real quick. We're talking to Tao Green from Crank and Boom, and we want to talk real quick in regards to, we've got the location. Now, let's talk about all these amazing flavors.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's so many flavors and so many unique concepts. Tell us about those and how that all worked out and how that all happened.
Sure. All of our flavors have some sort of story behind them. Bourbon and honey was because Weta Michael, who's famous queen of restaurants here in Central Kentucky, she called and said, "Hey, do you have a whiskey ice cream? I'd like to have some for an event I'm doing." We did not have a whiskey ice cream at the time, but I said, yes, we do. So I created the bourbon and honey ice cream, which is our most popular flavor.
I was going to say, that's the most popular one, isn't it? Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
But at the time, I told her that's the only time I've ever lied to her, because I was like, no, you just don't say no to Weta Michael.
Right.
And
you make it, right? You make it on the fly.
Yes, we can do that. And, as a startup, sometimes you have to
It's
just
a great
say
idea.
yes to everything just to get by and get your product out there. So all the flavors have some sort of story like that behind them of how they were created. And then some of our newer ones, every week now, we have something called Small Batch Friday. So we come up with new flavors every single week that
That's
I
great.
think keeps it exciting for people.
Yes.
You can also pre-order them now. So if you, 3 weeks before they release, we open a window up for pre-ordering. So if you love Lucky Charms ice cream, you could buy 100 of them if you want. And
That's
you don't
great.
have to fight everyone else who's scrambling to come in and get it on that Friday, because we always have just a limited amount.
And you cater too. You cater as well.
We cater. We do weddings. We do corporate events, which are really, really fun. So anyone who wants to treat their employees and, and it's like an open bar. You can have as much ice cream as you want. Yep. We catered the Amazon call center. We usually do that every year. And we were there for 12 hours.
Did you drop ship it to him?
Yeah.
That was a bad joke. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
But so you're very big into charity. You do a lot of charity stuff, so that's so amazing and really cool. And it just seems like every month you've got some kind of new great idea coming up. Two great locations. You've got one in the Distillery district close to Ethereal Brewing and Crank and Boom, and your Crank and Boom, and Goodfellas Pizza off of Manchester, yeah. And you're also in the Summit. You're in the barn, basically in the food court there. Yes. So that's amazing. While we're talking, what kind of this is all great for an entrepreneur, for somebody that basically is looking to start something, whether it's ice cream or, with our past guests, whether it was, crafting beer and some of the great new guests we're going to have. What kind of suggestions and advice could you give them in regards to what to do and how to do it,
I mean, a lot of our journey are basically a collection of things that you should not do, but because we had so many of the you should not do's, it helped us figure out what we should do. So we spent a lot of time just trying things, and when
but you learn from those you should not do.
And sometimes things work really well, and a lot of times they don't. And so my advice would be to just get comfortable with the uncomfortable. So
That's
when
great.
things are scary and risky and there's a lot of fear in taking a step or trying something new, our whole team now, they have reservations sometimes, but they know that we're just going to try it. And if it doesn't work, we will learn from it, we'll fix it, and move on from that. And then we don't hang on to mistakes either. No,
Love
we don't.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we
Absolutely.
And same thing with our victories too. We get excited when awesome things happen, but we don't dwell on that, and we are always hungry to do better and improve.
Everything's a win-win in real estate. Where I try to teach my team and folks that I'm coaching and stuff, that basically you stay even keel. You have your goods and bads, but at the end of the day, you basically stay even keel and you learn from your mistakes. Try not to make them again, but everything's a win-win. To keep moving forward because you have your highs and lows. So that's great. So I love it. I mean, we could talk all day more, about all this stuff. The fact that you went from a Thai restaurant to Crank and Boom. I'm being serious. It's the best ice cream ever. It's the best ice cream I've ever had.
Thank you.
It is so good. I will venture off my cookies and cream to something else.
Okay.
I don't know when,
Yeah.
but I will do that. I might just maybe have a couple samples here and there.
Right.
But guys, if you want to check them out, they're great. So before we end our segment, we always ask our guests, we ask them 5 random questions.
Okay.
And these questions are a little corny, I know, but we want to get to know you a little bit better. So basically, the 5 random questions. Question number 1 we have for you today is, it's going to be obvious, kind of. What's your favorite Crank and Boom ice cream, if you had to choose one?
Right now, and it changes a lot, but right now, the honeycomb is my favorite.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's something about using the local honey
okay.
our wonderful pastry fairies who work in production. They create this honeycomb candy and then they put in ice cream.
Love the pastry fairies.
And
That's great.
I love honey anything. So that in ice cream form is just magical. And we're gonna have it, I think, at around Mother's Day.
That's great. What we didn't get into, your ingredients too. They're all pretty much local. They're all fresh. They're either organic or they're gluten free. You've got a lot. You're very health conscious with your product to make it really pop.
We try our best to get the best ingredients we can. A lot of times that means it's more expensive, but we also
it's not cheap, but
we feel like
that's why you have 100 people in line. You know what I mean? Trying to get in your place.
Right. Well, a lot of the ice cream industry now on a larger grand scale, that what they're trying to do is how can I make it taste the best for the cheapest ingredients I can, because
that's every place.
That's a large corporate company, but we're just a tiny little ice cream company, and so we can do things a little bit different.
For now, you are.
For now, maybe we'll get bigger at some point.
So you don't get on People Magazine for for being tiny. So that's amazing as well. All right, question number 2: favorite movie and why? If you had to pick one.
I have a lot of favorite movies, but if I had to pick one right now, it would be Mulan.
Okay.
The Disney cartoon and the live action one that's coming out at the end of the month. I think it's just when I was a kid and you see someone that looks like you on the screen and she's kicking ass and
taking names
and just trying to be who she is. I feel like that's kind of an embodiment of my own
that's
journey
true.
as well.
That's a very great analogy. It really is, because you are kicking ass and taking names, and I love it. I didn't even think about that. So what a cool question, because that's pretty. That's pretty.
Random,
I'm getting a little teary eyed. That's pretty awesome, man. That's amazing.
I love it, and the dragon is super
I wonder
funny.
what movie. Paul Blart Mall Cop, maybe for me. I don't know. Anyway, that's what first popped in my head. First pet, and what was it?
I actually am allergic to most pets.
Really?
And ironically allergic to horses, being in horse
Oh,
country. So that's kind of
yeah.
the worst. But, so no pets.
No goldfish, nothing like that?
No goldfish. Maybe
Okay.
sea monkeys at
All
some
right.
point.
Okay.
But that was
Okay.
probably.
Okay.
I tend to kill things like plants and stuff that
Yeah,
I like take care of.
I understand.
I've kept my 2 children alive so far.
Well,
so that's
the most important thing, right? That's
positive.
All right. If you had to choose, beach, lake, or mountains.
I'm gonna pick mountains.
Okay.
And I'm gonna pick Western North Carolina mountains.
Oh, okay.
So I was a camp counselor in the mountains
Okay.
for several summers while I was in college. And,
Okay.
and I just love the mountains.
Blue Ridge, right?
Blue Ridge
Yeah,
Mountains.
that's where
French Broad River.
yep, that's where they made the movie Last Mohicans.
Oh, okay.
Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm a
very
big
good.
yeah. So we used to go there a lot too. So I know exactly where
Yes,
you're at. It's
you know
beautiful,
I love
beautiful,
it.
beautiful area. Excuse me. All right, last one here. Last book you read.
Technically, the last book I read was something called The Potty Train because
Oh, okay.
our son is 2.5
Perfect.
and we're about to tackle potty training.
That's great.
But
They
the
grow
book
up
that
too
I
fast.
read, but the book that I read for myself, the last one was Ride of a Lifetime by Bob Iger. Who Bob Iger's actually he just resigned, but was the CEO of Disney Company.
Wow.
Disney
Okay.
Corporation.
Yep.
So talked about his journey and things that he's learned, and it was really good. I enjoyed it. So any entrepreneur who wants to talk about running a creative company, I think that's a good
Check that
one.
book out.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a
What was
good
it
one.
called again?
Ride of a Lifetime.
Ride of a Lifetime.
by Bob Iger.
All right, great. So, guys, if you're listening to this, check that book out. That sounds like a really good one. We'll have more. I'm an audio book person. I can read like 2 pages and my mind starts to wander. So
Right.
when I'm
I'm the same way.
yeah. So audio books are great for me. I do probably one a week. I try my best to, but that's a great one to listen to.
Fantastic.
Well, guys, I think that basically covers our second episode podcast with Crank and Boom with Tao. I appreciate you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on.
much.
It was amazing.
Thanks for
I could
having me.
talk to you all day because
Same.
I'm so excited to watch you guys grow. I mean, you have started your 4 years in, 2015,
Something, yeah.
in regards to the
The
shop.
stores, yeah.
So amazing. Come check them out. They do such great work. Charity with the community. Their product is amazing, fresh, great. Love you guys. Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Check out the next episode, guys. We are out. Have a great day. Do what you love what you do. Live your best life. Have a good one.